David Stanley, and I work for the School of Nursing and Midwifery. We were looking at the introduction of an ePortfolio. Students had previously been using paper-based portfolios. We knew that the portfolios were being developed by the university, and we really just wanted to tie those two things together so that the ePortfolio supported an electronic medium where the students could use as a repository for evidence against graduate attributes. In the III curriculum, we also tried to capture the Australian Nursing and Midwifery Competencies, so it really became a useful tool right through the course. It was used formally as an assessment. 30% of their grade for that unit came from submitting the portfolio at the end of the semester, following a marking guide. And the idea was that it would be built upon each semester, so they used it right the way through their course. In terms of the assessment, we wanted them firstly to become familiar with the tools. So what I was looking at was, could they design an introductory page, so who they were, a profile, upload a photograph, put some information about their goals. Then they were asked to load evidence related to the III curriculum, graduate attributes, and in particular the ANMC competency. And the other parts of the assessment looked at whether they'd invited other people to use or look at their ePortfolio to share their resource, and how they'd captured and stored evidence. So we really looked at whether or not they'd used the whole thing. In essence, what we were looking for was that they'd become familiar with the components of ePortfolio and what they could do with it. About 70% of students said that they were happy with it, were quite happy to use it. There were about 10% of students who either stated that they were IT illiterate or that they just didn't have the IT resources to engage with this technology properly. So for those 10%, it really was not satisfactory. There were a group in the middle that used it, could access the technology, but just weren't comfortable doing it. But most people were very happy with it. It was described as easy to use. Most students were happy to play around with the format. So one of the ways most students learned was by trial and error. Because it was new technology, we gave them a lecture on how to set up the ePortfolio. It was actually quite late in the semester for programming reasons, and it was probably too late. So that was a good idea, but we should have done it sooner. They also had tutorials throughout the first few weeks of the semester, and the ePortfolios were explained in each of the tutorials. Sadly, we were often given rooms that had no IT access, so that didn't always work for every group. And they were reminded in labs which occurred later in the semester where we did have IT access, so the labs picked up the slack, but again it was often quite late. So most students learnt it themselves. It was demonstrated in lectures and tutorials and labs, but by and large most students took themselves off to learn it. To be honest, I was not familiar with it, although I've been involved with it for a while. Actually sitting down to do it took considerable effort. I did design a mock ePortfolio. I made up a character, I invented a CV, I got evidence to support the CV. It was all fictitious stuff. I'd copied and deleted names and changed things around. And most importantly, I wanted to put on the ANMC competencies and how they related to the portfolio. And that was successful. And most students I know went and looked at it. And I think that was probably one of the best bits of getting students started on it. They could see a complete portfolio. The students loaded evidence extremely well. There were lots of good examples of reflections, activities they'd undertaken that supported the competencies they needed to demonstrate. So the fact that they were able to tag relevant evidence was very good. I actually think that the ePortfolio format worked very well. The capacity to link to evidence was good, and the students by and large realised that it would form a valuable asset for them in the future, either for their course or later on in their career. So those were the main things we wanted to have work, and they worked pretty well. There was one thing that I think we really need to change, and that was the fact that the nursing and midwifery competencies weren't tagged in the same way that the graduate attributes and the III curriculum were able to be tagged to evidence, made it cumbersome and clumsy, and I think that's one thing that we need to fix if it's really going to be successful. They've got to be the primary element that they need to tag their evidence to. Learn how to use it yourself and be very familiar with the technology before you try and teach anyone else what to do. I would strongly recommend that people are aware of the purpose behind it. I think it sort of crept up on us to some extent. We knew we wanted to do it, and I think we sort of knew why we wanted to do it. But it became far more evident what we were going to get out of it once we started seeing students use it. And one of the great joys was seeing completed portfolios at the end of the semester that students had handed up for marking, just resonate with all of this knowledge and reflections and insight that they gained, which I'd never really got from the paper-based portfolios. Some students have put on little video clips, a lot of them had used photographs. Because of this range of medium that they'd used, they actually came to life a lot more. So that was a real joy. I didn't know that would happen at the beginning. I guess you almost have to go with your eyes open and expect the unexpected to some extent. So I was really pleasantly surprised by the outcome from this. I thought it was really good.